Let's talk about another political party now that's looking maybe for a role. The English Democrats, they're holding their party conference this weekend. They openly campaign for English independence, and post-Brexit they believe the possibility of re-establishing a sovereign English nation is increasingly likely. The party have also said that they will stand in the upcoming by-election for the parliamentary seat of Batley and Spen. Well, joining us is the leader of the English Democrats, Robin Tilbrook. There he is in Cambridge. Good afternoon.
Hello.
It was not by design that we come to you straight off the back of a piece about UKIP, but I wonder in a way if that illustrates a problem that you face, that when people think of the kinds of policies that your party espouses, they tend to think of UKIP and they don't think of you. How do you deal with that?
Well, UKIP certainly have been the party that's been leading the charge on the EU question. Of course, the EU question's now been answered. We're going for Brexit. And of course that means that UKIP's founding purpose, and the main purpose for which most of its leaders got into politics in the first place, has gone, and it's been dealt with. I was quite interested in hearing what David Coburn had to say, because I think he's completely wrong about UKIP's future. The fact is that they are now left as being another one of the unionist parties that are talking about the UK, of course, in actual fact, there's very little being said about what should happen for England. I mean, take for instance, over the last few days, we've had all this discussion about grammar schools. That is a policy that only relates to England, but our politicians have found it impossible to talk about it as if it was just an English issue. They keep saying our country or Britain or something like that. Which is confusing the issue.
But there's devolution, and there are issues that certain parliaments will deal with, most obviously the parliaments...
There's no devolution for England.
Ah, and that's where you still want us to go?
We're completely left out of it. Our interests are ignored, and our rights are trampled over. Of course, those devolved governments do have a say in what happens in their country, but they also wind up having a say in what happens in England. And that's quite wrong.
How do you convince voters of the case you've just made? Because while you've had moments of electoral success here and there, you would surely be the first to acknowledge that you've not made a breakthrough, and you don't really show a sign of doing that, do you?
I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily right. Who would have said 10 years ago that UKIP would have achieved what it has now achieved? Who would have said 20 years ago that the SNP would now be the government of Scotland? You know, the things change, and people do want to see, I think, something done to properly represent England and the English, and that is the next agenda, I think. And to talk about, as Diane James and that contingent within UKIP, that they believe in Britain, that is their slogan. I think what they're doing is they're missing the fact that most people in England regard themselves as English, and indeed in the 2011 census, over 60% said they were English only and not British.
I hope your conference goes well this weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Robin Tilbrook, leader of the English Democrats there in Cambridge.